Hey everyone, it's Matt from Train Sim Society and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So we have a big news week for Train Sim World. TSW6 dropped about 2 months ago now, and Birmingham to Crewe landed almost immediately after, and the content releases haven't really slowed down since. We've had the High Iron Simulations release, Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear, the Pacer gameplay pack for Cardiff City Network. The releases just keep rolling in, and that raises a concern I've been thinking a lot about lately. Even in a scenario where every single release was polished and high quality, there's still a question of whether the community can realistically keep pace. People are stretched financially. A constant stream of paid DLC during a recession means a lot of players simply can't buy everything that's coming out. Factor in the reality that quality hasn't been consistent across all recent releases, and the oversaturation concern becomes harder to ignore. Some content has been solid, some has missed the mark, but the volume combined with the inconsistency is really what I believe is creating some friction here. With that context in mind though, Dovetail is kicking off their season of reveals 2025. So this year they're actually changing up the format. Instead of a traditional monthly roadmap, we're getting 3 weekly drops throughout December. Week 1 lands today, December 1st, or I guess maybe December 2nd if this video happens to go up late. Week 2 hits December 8th, and week 3 drops December 15th. Beyond that, there's a full community calendar running alongside the reveals. Discord Q&As every Tuesday, community screenshot competitions every Wednesday, Dovetail live streams every Thursday, and giveaways every Friday and through the weekends. So this is a very aggressive push. Given everything I just said about saturation, this keep the lights on at all costs energy is really noticeable. So let's get into what they actually announced. First up is a brand new German route, the Rhein-Niers-Bahn, running from Duisburg to Mönchengladbach. This comes from a new developer called Foliage World. What we do know is this adds another third-party team to the TSW ecosystem, more competition, more variety in content, but also more fuel for that oversaturation fire in my opinion. So the route itself is described as a beautiful scenic line over 100 years old. Large stations, big cities, open fields, and foliage throughout. There's a strong focus on freight operations, particularly in and around the Chem Park industrial area. Looking at the route map, we're getting 14 stations and 9 additional points of interest spread across the line, including yards, depots, and sidings. We also got some insight from the developers themselves. Noor, who some might know as Foliage from YouTube, Discord, and also the forums, handles a lot of the scenery work. Martin from the Train Sim Play YouTube channel and TSC Discord contributed research and reference gathering. And Dion, who works on the infrastructure team at Dovetail and has experience with other third-party routes and TSC community projects, handled the tracks, signals, overhead lines, and even the timetable. He noted that despite there being no S-Bahn line on this route, the traffic between Duisburg and Krefeld is heavy enough that it felt like a typical S-Bahn experience anyway. Speaking of which, no S-Bahn on this route is a breath of fresh air, at least in my opinion. I feel like German content has been leaning heavily into that formula, and I think stepping away from it, even temporarily, is a welcome change of pace. This route might also help reset expectations after some underwhelming German releases. Leipzig to Dresden didn't land particularly well with a lot of the community. I don't want to speak for everyone though. Stuttgart to Heilbronn hasn't even released yet, but the reception so far has been lukewarm at best because of accuracy concerns. So, maybe this route can change that trajectory. But the route being over a century old means there's likely a lot of historic architecture and unique environmental assets throughout. From what I can see in the screenshots, things look solid though. Very good resolution, decent detail. I see some ICE action. It's hard to form complete opinions from promotional screenshots, but first impressions are pretty positive, I would say. Obviously, I can't speak to accuracy on German content, but I don't think anything here particularly raises any concerns, at least with me. The route map layout looks pretty promising as well. There's a good mix of straight running and varied track work with some very interesting paths throughout. Now, if you're familiar with this line or German rail in general, definitely let me know what you think in the comments. I'm curious what the German community thinks of this one. Next is a new US route from High Iron Simulations, the Southern Pacific Ore Line's Hayden Branch. Given High Iron's track record, I'm gonna be approaching this one with caution. Their previous releases have been rough around the edges. So this is their first full route for TSW, and it is a short one, only about 20 miles between Ray and Hayden, Arizona. Starting small might actually work in their favor here. So the route is described as a legendary among North American enthusiasts for its heavy haul operations and tough railroading through dramatic western desert scenery. It linked the sprawling open pit copper mine at Ray to the copper smelter and mill facilities at Hayden. This was a 24/7 operation, a constantly busy steel artery hauling millions of tons of copper ore from mine to mill, then finished copper metals outbound. The Hayden branch connected at Ray Junction with the rest of the Southern Pacific system via SP's Tuscan division. The TSW6 version is set circa 1980 as a Southern Pacific property. Today, the line still operates as the Regional Copper Basin Railway. Now, the screenshots. They appear to be captured from within the editor rather than final in-game footage, and that's a problem. The quality here is noticeably rough, very grainy, very low resolution, almost like they're running on minimum graphics settings with anti-aliasing disabled. Now, when you compare these screenshots to the German screenshots above this within the article, there is an obvious quality gap. You know, for marketing material meant to generate excitement, I feel like that definitely misses the mark, and we have had this happen a couple of times with third parties, and I definitely think that we need to have a way around this. Maybe it's different if they're early in development, maybe it's not possible for them to get higher screenshots, but if that's the case, then I don't think we should be getting any because it just doesn't really paint a good picture. But with that said, the underlying concept really has potential. I've personally developed an appreciation for demanding freight operations lately. Cajon Pass has become my main route, and there is something deeply satisfying about mastering a heavy train on challenging grades. That sense of accomplishment when you nail a difficult run will keep you coming back. Like, I literally feel like I'm on top of the world when I successfully take a 10 million pound train down Cajon Pass. So, you know, even with my reservations about High Iron, I feel like the gameplay concept here is appealing. The route runs through Cactus Country, passing through Ray Junction, Hayden, and Winkleman, all of which are in Arizona. You'll be navigating rugged, remote, and dramatic American West scenery with grades reaching up to 2%. So Arizona would be a new state for the TSW roster, which is a nice addition. I really like the desert landscape. I love the cacti. So, you know, that's gonna bring something different and something very distinct as well. I don't really know if we have that on Cane Creek. The reason why I say that is because that route is so boring that I don't touch it. I wouldn't know. Looking at the planned features, we're getting authentic recreations of the sprawling open pit copper mine and servicing facilities at Ray, highly detailed recreations of the mill, smelter, yard, and ore unloading facilities at Hayden, and importantly, the route includes interactive loading and unloading features. That last point matters a lot here. One of the biggest issues with US freight content, in my opinion, is the lack of operational depth. Simple point-to-point runs get very repetitive. I feel like giving players meaningful tasks like loading, unloading, and industry switching changes the experience significantly. And international players often dismiss American routes as boring, and I feel like that perception perception comes from limited gameplay variety. If you add purpose and engagement, the appeal is going to broaden considerably. Like, imagine if we actually had industries that we had to serve and there was more of a story and more gameplay involved with our freight. I feel like more people would be interested in it. Now back to the news. For rolling stock, we're getting Southern Pacific's gray and scarlet dressed Electromotive GP35 diesel road switcher, which saw regular service on the Hayden Branch. Whether high iron can deliver quality locomotive physics and handling is an open question. We're also getting a distinctive interactive ore hauling gondola, a 43-foot acid tank car, since acid is a byproduct of copper mining, a Southern Pacific 56-foot anode flat car for outbound ore ingots, a Southern Pacific C34 bay window steel caboose, and additional freight equipment for manifest operations. Now for gameplay, we're looking at a loaded 6,000-ton copper ore train movements from the mine to the Hayden unloader, empty train movements of 50 to 55 cars returning from Hayden to Ray Mine, loading and unloading switching duties at both Ray and Hayden, acid traffic handling inbound and outbound, Hayden smelter and mill switching assignments, mixed manifest and outbound ore movements via Ray Junction. This would also mark the first time Southern Pacific appears in TSW6, which is significant for American rail enthusiasts. The 1980s setting is an interesting direction too. I think between this and Santa Fe on Cajon Pass, representing the 90s, there seems to be an exploration of earlier American rail eras happening. Curious to see if that trend continues. Despite the poor screenshot quality, the desert scenery looks really good actually. If these are truly editor captures, I think the final product should look considerably better in actual gameplay. I'm willing to give high iron a chance to turn things around here, but with 2% grades and heavy ore trains, this is going to really give us a challenging experience. I'm kind of looking forward to it, not gonna lie. Now on to the Tadami line from Union Workshop. We recently learned that they're targeting for a spring 2026 release, which I covered in a previous video. Today we got a full gameplay showcase featuring the Kiha 40 DMU in all three of its classic liveries. The route is set in the 2010s era. It runs along the Tadami River, and the primary draw is the magnificent scenery across changing seasons. The line passes through numerous bridges and tunnels on its way to Okuaisu. Photographers, both domestic and international, travel specifically to capture the views along this route. It was even selected as the top of the top 10 most beautiful autumn leaves railways by a national media outlet in Japan. The Kiha 40 series diesel cars were designed in 1977 to replace aging vehicles on suburban and rural services. A total of 888 vehicles were built between 1977 and 1982. They operated across all of Japan, from the northernmost point of Hokkaido to the southernmost tip of Kyushu. The Kiha 40 runs on an inline 6-cylinder diesel engine producing 220 horsepower. That power output is described as far from powerful, making it quite challenging to drive on slopes. Expect this to be a route where throttle management and momentum matter. So the showcase footage looks very promising from the opening seconds. Oh my gosh. The falling leaf effects, densely filled scenery, strong environmental detail throughout, very impressive visual presentation. The audio really stood out here as well. I love the engine sounds and the horn, all sound good to me. Very high quality. I really do think this route is going to be something special. I have been looking forward to this one for a long time. I know it's taking a while to come, but I feel like it's going to be very good when it does come. I will say though that the cab interiors do appear somewhat grainy within this footage, not quite reaching full TSW6 visual standards, at least in my opinion. But again, this work is progress material, so it is worth noting but not worth judging too harshly yet. The density of that scenery does raise performance questions though, particularly for console players, given how some recent releases have struggled with technical performance. I think concerns about texture quality and frame rates and stuff are pretty reasonable, but we'll see how that holds up as development progresses. Now on to the patch. So the patch drops tomorrow, and it's the Birmingham to Crewe update the community has been waiting on. So we're gonna run through everything, starting with the core. They fixed an issue causing temporary speed restrictions not to trigger PZB correctly, loco names to disappear from debrief screens, and loading screens not to update correctly. Now for Birmingham to Crewe specifically, they added arrival times to all timetable services. This was one of the biggest community requests, so seeing it addressed is a huge win here. They optimize assets at Smethic and Crewe for greater stability and performance. They improved the German voiceover volume, adjusted route announcements to deliver a more consistent experience. Hopefully this means the issues are actually resolved rather than just adjusted. Updated the station announcements at Wolverhampton. This was very needed. Fixed several timetable issues to prevent service ending concerns, including AI spads and derailments. So AI spads were still occurring after the previous patch, so hopefully this finally eliminates them for good. So for the Class 350, adjusted BR Class 350 onboard announcements for greater consistency, adjusted the suspension on the BR Class 350, the braking performance on the BR Class 350, the audio of the BR Class 350 door closing sounds, aligned BR Class 350 subclasses to a cab and exterior configuration representative of the 2019 era, fixed an issue with the vehicle numbering of the BR Class 350/3. And for the Class 390, they fixed an issue with the 390 formations. The patch is smaller than I anticipated. Part of me was hoping for a more extensive set of fixes, but looking at it objectively, this does cover the primary pain points, which were arrival times, performance optimizations, and the announcement issues. And these were my main complaints from my own time with the route, so maybe this really does address most of what has remained. But still, for the core route, there isn't anything more than that. What happened to the sea textures for the Riviera line? What's going on here? And I can bet you this is probably the only patch that we're going to get this month. We probably won't be seeing another one until after the new year. So whatever is not fixed with this, or whatever this patch breaks, unfortunately, I feel like we're likely going to be stuck with until New Year's, which would break my heart, but wouldn't come as a surprise. One thing missing though, the Class 390 announcements, those were mentioned in the previous patch notes and they said they would be in the next patch. So I don't know where those are. But Birmingham to Crewe has the foundation to be an excellent route. This patch should bring it closer to that potential. Really looking forward to revisiting it once this update goes live. So what's coming next? Well, looking ahead, week 2 brings 2 new announcements and 2 add-on updates. Week 3 expands further with 3 new announcements and 2 updates. So the aggressive release pace continues. Christmas 2025 challenges are also on the way. 3 unlockable poster sets representing UK, Germany, and the United States. They look nice. I'll give it to them. Each challenge is locked to a specific region, but once you unlock a poster, you can display it on any route regardless of region. The specific challenge goals will be revealed in the week 2 article on December 8th. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So December Mastery is also live now. 2 tiers of rewards this month. For tier 1, you need to complete 4 scenarios or timetables with a temperature under 5 degrees Celsius and exceed 150 miles an hour. That unlocks the December Mastery decal. For tier 2, you need to find a collectible and successfully complete the session during a single timetable, complete 300 objectives during scenarios or timetables, and drive 250 miles. That's going to unlock the December Mastery poster. So Dovetail is also part of Jingle Jam 2025, running from today through December 14th. The TSW6 Jingle Jam bundle includes the free starter pack, the LGV route, MBTA commuter Boston to Framingham/Worcester route, and Holiday Express Runaway Elf. All proceeds are split among participating charities, including their partner charity Calm, the campaign against living miserably. The Yogscast team will be playing TSW6 on December 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. UTC on their YouTube channel, and Matt Pedleston, executive producer of Trains at Dovetail, will be doing a live stream on December 3rd on the TSW channels to promote the bundle and raise money for the event. And also, we have the Stuttgart to Heilbronn preview stream as well on Thursday, December 4th, so it is a packed week, guys. We have a lot to look forward to. Not even just a packed week, but a packed month. It is gonna be crazy. So that pretty much wraps up week 1, essentially a mini roadmap format for December. If you enjoyed this video, found it entertaining or informative, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and drop your thoughts on the announcements in the comments, especially if you're familiar with any of these routes or have opinions on the Birmingham to Crewe patch. That's gonna be it from me for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care and happy rail simming.